Have you ever caught yourself sitting quietly, maybe in the late afternoon, and thinking, when did my day start feeling so full, yet somehow empty at the same time? You're busy with routines, with responsibilities, with things that need to be done, but there's a small part of you that remembers a different kind of busy. A time when hours slipped by because you were painting, or fixing something with your hands, or playing music, or gardening, or writing, or even tinkering with something just for the joy of it. Somewhere along the way, those things faded into the background. Not because they stopped mattering, but because life simply took over. After 60, many people quietly wonder if that part of life is over. They ask themselves, is it too late to start again, or what's the point now? And today, I want to gently challenge that thought. Because revisiting old hobbies after 60 isn't about going backward. It's about reclaiming a part of yourself that never truly disappeared. It's about feeling alive in a way that routines alone can't provide. In this video, we're going to talk about why returning to old hobbies can make such a powerful difference at this stage of life, not in some dramatic, life-changing overnight way, but in small, steady, deeply meaningful ways that add warmth and color back into your days. And as we ease into this conversation, let's start with something very simple and very human. One of the biggest reasons old hobbies matter after 60 is because they reconnect you with who you were before life became so demanding. Think back for a moment. Before the long workdays, before raising children, before caring for others took center stage, there was something you did purely because it made you happy. Maybe it was woodworking in a small corner of the garage. Maybe it was sewing, cooking new recipes, playing cards, dancing, or even collecting something that fascinated you. Those hobbies weren't just activities. They were expressions of your personality. When you return to them now, you're not trying to recreate the past. You're reminding yourself that you are more than your age, more than your responsibilities, and more than what your body can or can't do today. That sense of identity is incredibly important as we get older. Retirement, changing roles in the family, or physical limitations can sometimes make people feel invisible or unsure of their place. An old hobby gently says, I'm still here. This is still me. And something interesting happens when you reconnect with that part of yourself. Your mood often lifts without you even trying. There's a quiet satisfaction in doing something familiar, something that once brought you joy. Your hands remember movements your mind thought it had forgotten. Your heart recognizes the feeling immediately. Even if you're a bit rusty, there's comfort in that familiarity, like meeting an old friend after many years apart. Another powerful reason to revisit old hobbies after 60 is how they support your mind in a natural, enjoyable way. Many people worry about memory, focus, or mental sharpness as they age. And while crossword puzzles and brain games have their place, hobbies often do even more because they engage the mind without feeling like work. When you paint, you're making decisions about color and shape. When you play music, you're reading patterns, listening, adjusting. When you garden, you're planning, observing, and responding to nature. All of this gently stimulates the brain. What makes hobbies especially effective is that they don't come with pressure. You're not being tested. You're not trying to perform for anyone. You're simply doing something you enjoy, and your brain responds positively to that sense of purpose and engagement. Over time, many people notice they feel more alert, more present, and even more confident in their thinking. It's not about becoming sharper overnight. It's about staying engaged with life in a way that feels natural and rewarding. There's also something deeply calming about returning to an old hobby, especially in a world that often feels noisy and rushed. After 60, stress doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. Worries about health, finances, family, or the future can quietly build up. Hobbies offer a gentle escape, a place where your mind can rest without shutting down. When you're absorbed in something you love, even for a short time, your breathing slows, your shoulders relax, and your thoughts settle. Many people describe this as feeling lost in the moment, and that feeling is incredibly healing. It's a reminder that peace doesn't always come from solving problems. Sometimes it comes from simply being present with something that brings you joy. Even spending 20 or 30 minutes a few times a week can make a noticeable difference in how you feel emotionally. And here's something that often surprises people. Old hobbies can help rebuild confidence after 60. As we age, it's easy to focus on what we can't do as easily as before. But hobbies shift the focus back to what you can do. They remind you of skills you developed over years, sometimes decades. Even if your hands are slower or your eyes need a bit more light, the knowledge is still there. The creativity is still there. Each small success, finishing a piece, learning a new technique, or simply sticking with the habit, reinforces a quiet sense of achievement. You start to trust yourself again, not in a loud or boastful way, but in a steady, reassuring way. That confidence often spills into other parts of life, making daily challenges feel a little more manageable. As we sit with these ideas, it becomes clear that revisiting old hobbies isn't about filling time. It's about enriching it. It's about choosing to engage with life in a way that feels personal and meaningful. And now that we've explored how old hobbies reconnect you with your identity, support your mind, ease stress, and rebuild confidence, it feels natural to continue this conversation by looking at how these hobbies can also reshape your daily routine and even your relationships in ways you might not expect. And feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. As that sense of confidence begins to quietly return, something else often starts to shift as well: the rhythm of your everyday life. Days after 60 can sometimes blur together. Morning routines lead into afternoons that feel long, and evenings come before you know it. When you bring an old hobby back into your life, even in a small way, it gives your days a gentle structure. Not a rigid schedule, but something to look forward to. A reason to say, this afternoon, I'll spend a little time with something that's just for me. That anticipation matters more than we often realize. It adds a spark to ordinary days. You might wake up knowing that later you'll work on a puzzle, tend to your plants, practice a song, or continue a project you started last week. Suddenly, time feels less like something to pass and more like something to enjoy. This shift can be especially meaningful after retirement, when the clear boundaries of workdays and weekends fade away. A hobby becomes a personal anchor, something that brings intention back into your routine without pressure or obligation. Along with shaping your days, old hobbies can gently open doors to connection, even for those who consider themselves private or independent. Many people after 60 find their social circles shrinking. Friends move away, health issues arise, or energy for constant socializing just isn't the same. Returning to a hobby can create natural opportunities for interaction, without the awkwardness of forced social events. If you enjoy painting, you might chat with someone at an art supply store or share your work online. If you love gardening, a conversation over the fence can turn into a shared exchange of tips and stories. If music was once your passion, playing again might lead to informal gatherings or simple moments of connection. What's important here is that the hobby comes first. The social connection grows naturally from it, rather than being the main goal. This feels much more comfortable for many people, especially those who don't enjoy small talk or crowded settings. Even quiet connections, like exchanging a few words with someone who shares your interest, can ease feelings of loneliness and remind you that you're part of a larger world of shared passions. Another beautiful aspect of revisiting old hobbies is how they allow you to move at your own pace. There's no race, no competition, and no need to prove anything. After 60, your body may ask for more rest, your hands may tire more quickly, or your focus may wander. Hobbies adapt to you, not the other way around. You can take breaks, change how you do things, or simplify your approach. The joy comes from the process, not from perfection. This flexibility can be deeply freeing. Many people spent decades in roles where expectations were high and mistakes felt costly. A hobby offers a rare space where mistakes are simply part of the experience. If a project doesn't turn out as planned, it's not a failure. It's a lesson, or sometimes just a story to laugh about later. This attitude can be incredibly healing, especially for those who have spent much of their lives being hard on themselves. There's also a quiet physical benefit to many old hobbies that's easy to overlook. Not all movement has to be exercise in the traditional sense. Activities like gardening, woodworking, knitting, dancing, or even cooking engage the body in gentle, purposeful ways. These movements support flexibility, coordination, and strength without feeling like a workout. You're moving because you want to, not because you feel you should. This kind of movement is often more sustainable. It doesn't rely on motivation alone. It's woven into something you enjoy, which makes it easier to return to again and again. Over time, these small physical actions can support overall well-being, helping you feel more capable and comfortable in your body. And when movement is connected to pleasure rather than obligation, it tends to stick. Revisiting old hobbies also gives you a chance to redefine success on your own terms. After 60, many people feel pressure to slow down or step aside. Hobbies quietly push back against that idea. They remind you that growth doesn't stop at a certain age. You can still learn, adapt, and improve, even if improvement looks different now. Maybe you don't aim to master something the way you once did. Maybe your goal is simply to enjoy the process, to see where it leads, or to surprise yourself. That sense of ongoing growth can be incredibly uplifting. It keeps life feeling open rather than closed. Instead of thinking, that part of my life is over, you begin to think, there's still more here for me. That mindset alone can change how you approach aging, turning it from something to endure into something to explore. And then there's the emotional comfort that old hobbies can bring during quieter or more challenging times. Everyone faces moments of loss, uncertainty, or change, especially later in life. A familiar hobby can act like a steady companion through those moments. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't judge. It simply offers a place to rest your attention and express what you might not have words for. Many people find that during difficult periods, they naturally gravitate back to activities they loved years ago. There's a reason for that. Those hobbies are tied to memories of who you were when life felt full of possibility. Returning to them can bring a sense of continuity, a reminder that even as circumstances change, some parts of you remain constant. As these layers come together, the picture becomes richer. Old hobbies shape your days, open doors to connection, support gentle movement, encourage growth, and provide emotional comfort. They become woven into daily life in ways that feel natural and deeply personal. And as this sense of integration grows, it leads naturally into another important idea: how embracing these hobbies can help you let go of age-related doubts and fully claim your right to joy, creativity, and fulfillment at this stage of life. As you begin to let go of those quiet doubts about age, something freeing happens. You stop asking yourself whether you're too old to enjoy something and start asking a much kinder question: why not now? After 60, joy doesn't need permission. Creativity doesn't have an expiration date. When you fully embrace an old hobby again, you're making a quiet but powerful statement that your happiness still matters, just as much as it ever did. One of the most meaningful changes that comes from revisiting old hobbies is the way it reshapes how you see aging itself. Aging is often described as a process of loss, less strength, less speed, less opportunity. But hobbies tell a different story. They reveal what remains and what can still grow. You may approach your hobby differently now, with more patience and less urgency. You might notice details you once rushed past. You may savor the experience instead of focusing on the outcome. In many ways, this stage of life allows hobbies to deepen rather than diminish. There's also a special kind of pride that comes from choosing joy for yourself after years of choosing it for others. Many people spend decades putting their needs last, focused on work, family, and responsibilities. Picking up an old hobby again can feel almost rebellious at first, like you're doing something just because you want to. And that's a beautiful thing. It reinforces the idea that your time is valuable and that how you spend it matters. As these hobbies settle into your life, you may notice they influence more than just your free time. They can gently shift your outlook. You might find yourself feeling more patient, more optimistic, or more at ease with change. When you have something you enjoy waiting for you, even difficult days feel a little lighter. There's comfort in knowing that no matter what else happens, there's a part of your day that belongs to you. It's also worth remembering that hobbies don't have to look exactly the same as they did before. Maybe your eyesight has changed, so you use brighter light or larger tools. Maybe your energy comes in shorter bursts, so you work in smaller sessions. Adapting doesn't mean giving up. It means honoring where you are now. In fact, adapting can make the experience richer because it teaches you to listen to yourself with kindness rather than judgment. Some people worry that if they return to a hobby, they'll feel disappointed if they're not as skilled as they once were. But skill isn't the point anymore. Presence is. Enjoyment is. The simple act of showing up, of spending time with something that brings you peace or excitement, is enough. Over time, you may find that your abilities return in unexpected ways, shaped by experience and patience rather than speed. As we come toward the end of this conversation, it's clear that revisiting old hobbies after 60 isn't about filling empty hours. It's about enriching your life with meaning, connection, and joy. These activities reconnect you with who you are, support your mind and body, bring gentle structure to your days, open doors to connection, and remind you that growth doesn't stop just because a number has changed. If there's one thing to take away, it's this: you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need special equipment or endless energy. You only need a small willingness to begin again. That beginning might look like taking out old supplies, setting aside a quiet corner, or simply giving yourself permission to try. Small steps are enough. They always have been. And if you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to share in the comments. What hobby have you been thinking about returning to, or what activity once brought you joy that you miss? Your story might inspire someone else who's been quietly wondering the same thing. If this message resonated with you, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue creating content that supports living fully and meaningfully at every age. Thank you for spending this time together. Remember, life doesn't stop offering beauty, creativity, and purpose just because the years add up. Here's to rediscovering what you love, honoring who you are, and living your days with curiosity and warmth. Here's to living your best life at any age.